All writers should know how to create a flat character arc. When writing character arcs, most people tend to default to positive character arcs, stories of growth and learning. Not every story needs to be that though. Some genres, such as mystery, action-adventure, horror, and fables, are less about the protagonist's personal journey and more about the world around them or the situations they're navigating. Or maybe you're writing something more episodic, in which case people want familiarity. In these cases, you should consider flat arcs. With a flat arc, there's 3 routes you can take: the testing arc, the tragedy, and the messiah's journey. When they are tested, the story is about temptation and the struggle to stay true to one's beliefs and values. The protagonist is presented with a moral or ethical dilemma that makes it difficult for the character to maintain their stance. In fact, the harsher it becomes, the more potentially admirable a character can become, so long as you can get across why the stance one holds is indeed the truth. This variant often leads to a climactic test, where the character will make a choice that proves where they stand. A good example people most likely know are the many cases of the Joker trying to get Batman to kill him. The example that truly helped me understand it though is Rurouni Kenshin, which tests Kenshin's commitment to grow beyond his dark past as an assassin. The core message of the story is to not give up on seeking happiness, that your past doesn't define who you are. This is what Kenshin starts with, as he travels the world spreading kindness and protecting others. The actual plot is designed around giving him test after test, such as former enemies who seek to bring the killer out of him again, to people seeking revenge. The main narrative is a testing arc on Kenshin's truth. With testing arcs, you can have a character crumble at points under the weight of everything. The moment that has always stuck with me in Kenshin is when he believes his past means he's doomed to ruin everything for everybody he cares for, and so he just gives up on living. He stays in a state for quite a while, refusing to pursue the main villain for revenge, and so on. He only finally returns when he's reminded of his truth, that his skills are to protect people, and even then, he struggles with resistance. The scene in question tests Kenshin's desire to protect others against the temptation to surrender and just fade away. And the panel that concludes the chapter once Kenshin leaves even makes a point to note that the reason nobody could get him to rise before is because they never spoke his truth. They spoke of revenge, not of healing, not of protection. The other end of the personal narrative variant is the negative flat arc. With negative flat arcs, this is when a character either refuses to change or is destroyed because of it, and they wait too long to make positive changes. In these cases, a character suffers because of their misbelief about themselves, or the world and things tend to get worse for them as the story goes along. For instances where characters refuse to change, we can look at Jack Horner from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. The rest of the main cast each evolve as individuals as the story goes on, realizing how they can achieve their goals without using the wishing star. Jack, meanwhile, is a greedy individual who rejects all attempts to grow or change, despite all the attempts of the ethical bug, and it is what leads to his demise. He would have survived had he changed. Not every character stays the same before their downfall though. For a case where a character waits too long to make positive changes, we can look at Bojack Horseman. Bojack as a character is an absolute mess at the beginning, and the story shows us how much he genuinely believes he cannot grow, despite his absolute hatred of himself and who he is. He does, however, begin to put in the genuine work once he hits his lowest near the end of Season 5. He is genuinely improving as a person throughout the final season, but everything that's built up from the past comes back, destroying the progress he had made. This change-delayed approach is especially strong if you wish to create tragedies with flat arcs. When they're bringing changes to others, the lead becomes a catalyst hero. In these cases, it's about the protagonist transforming the world around them. You can essentially think of this as the mentor archetype as the lead, being the one to dish out wisdom or push different characters into their own development. The example I immediately think of is Yumeko from Kakeguri. She is a static, chaotic lead who doesn't change herself through pretty much the whole story. And the story isn't about her emotional journey or growth. Instead, it's about how her presence results in a change in others, particularly with certain things she does or says. A good example of this is during the dead swapping game arc, though you can see this through many of the stories. This approach can prove useful in sequel stories where a character has already completed their hero's journey, assuming you wish to use that structure, This is the inverted myth, or the Messiah's journey. In fitting this being the mentor archetype as protagonist, these characters often become the teacher to other characters who could use their specific help. For examples of this, see Great Teacher Onizuka, Assassination Classroom, and a bit of how Phoenix Wright is used in the Ace Attorney franchise in the second trilogy. If you're writing this type of story, one of the main antagonists is going to be the institutions of power over the lead. These authorities will aim to maintain their status quo. A status quo the lead's actions and existence challenge, and do everything they can to stomp out the lead. There may be insurgents that do already exist, though they aren't in the position to accomplish something decisive or meaningful until the catalyst hero enters the picture and gives them the extra push they've been waiting for. Also, the ones who will be immediately threatened by the catalyst hero aren't the prevailing authorities, but the marginal powers connected to them. Those who receive their influence from the prevailing authorities. These types tend to be exceedingly ambitious, unyielding, greedy, and more overly power hungry than those who their power derives. So, with that in mind, you'll often see these types mentoring others, often younger characters, while combating those above them who would interfere with their attempts to help others through their troubles. Some will see them as evil and damn them, while others will ally with them and choose to follow. It is also possible for characters to walk the path of the vengeful Messiah archetype, aka the Angel of Death. In this case, the character is less of a spirit of freedom or healing and more of a righteous being of retribution. In these cases, it's about destroying all those they judge as deserving of destruction, and how they bring certain characters down. A lot of the darker characters who pursue payback fall into this type, but I'll elaborate on the minutiae of that in a different episode, since that's a whole rabbit hole onto itself. Regardless, the important takeaway here is that you have options. Consider the story you wish to tell, or the narrative that would best fit the character you have. If you want to know more about the options you have outside the norm, check out this video I made on the outlaw structure. And if you want to see how I handle topics like this, give my Grandmaster of Theft series a try.